A recent poll by the American Psychological Association found that 68% of Americans reported feeling significant stress related to the election, and this was across political parties. That Democrats reported 76%, while Republicans reported 67%, and independents reported 64%. And this is significantly up from the 2016 election when the number was around 52%. And as we are in the midst of so much uncertainty, and it feels like so much is at risk and at stake with this election, many people are finding themselves feeling undone, that they're feeling on edge. They might have had difficulty sleeping on election night. Many people are at risk for going to maybe alcohol or drugs or binge eating, some of those unhealthy coping strategies. And I also see many relationships are strained, especially with those people who think differently from us politically. So it's so important as we go into these final days of the election, because it might take a day or two or even a few days to get all the election results in, to practice some significant self-care to manage that election anxiety. The first is to shift your state. Anxiety can really grip us. It can almost take us for like a hostage, taking us where it wants us to go. And we can shift our state by practicing some relaxation, in particular some mindful breathing, some slower, lower breathing. My personal favorite practice is the 2-step, 1-breath practice, where we just plant both feet on the ground by taking one step, second step with both feet, and then taking one deep breath. That can really be centering and grounding. Is to just distract yourself. Seek out those healthy distractions. Don't stay glued to the television. You might even consider deleting some of your social media apps on your phone to put your phone away. Instead, think about, what can I do that's a healthy distraction that will give me joy? Maybe it's playing board games with my family. Maybe it's watching a funny movie. Maybe it's diving into a work project you've been procrastinating on. It would feel really good to get done. That sense of accomplishment can really boost your mood and lower anxiety. Also in Wisconsin, the weather is gorgeous. So in Wisconsin, the weather is gorgeous this week. So I encourage you to get outside. Being out in nature can be a balm to the soul when we feel that sense of unease or distress. And I also encourage you to seek out connections. Many people are feeling isolated and alone, and we do better when we're surrounded by familial companions. So reach out to people, like-minded or not, for support and encouragement during these next stressful days. Especially thinking about modeling this for our children, that you can remind them that although maybe the election didn't go the way you had hoped, you still have those values as a family, and you and your children are more than this election. And remind them and yourself of what you stand for. Because if you're struggling, if you're finding that you're so overwhelmed, you're having trouble sleeping or focusing or doing your work, or you find yourself at risk for relapsing with alcohol or drugs, or even feeling so depressed that you might even be suicidal, please reach out to your primary care physician, consult with a mental care. It's really important to prioritize your self-care in the upcoming days. We need you strong and healthy and staying resilient. Really be mindful of how much news or media you're consuming. It's really easy to start to do doom scrolling or doom surfing, where you're just looking from one article to another, or checking your social media page over and over and staying glued to those devices or those screens. But we find that when people are over-consuming media, that actually can be a trigger for increased anxiety. So instead, take a break. We have to pace this. We can't stay connected 24/7. Take a break, do something else. The news will still be there, and then check back in and even think about what kind of dosage would be good for me. And make sure you're prioritizing sleep. Don't stay up all night waiting for the election results to be announced. You can find that out in the morning, but we just do better when we have a good night's sleep. And in a sense, the world feels brighter and the future more hopeful when we feel rested. And that our future doesn't end on election day. Instead, it's really the direction we're moving. And so think about where you can volunteer, think about where you can make a difference in your community, think about what you want to model for your children, think about even you 4 years from now and some significant action that you've taken that you will feel really good about. I often like to think about what would our grandkids or even generations to come think about us currently, and we want to really keep taking action, doing our part to make them proud, because really the hope is for future generations, and we all have our part to do. Mhm. A really settling practice for anxiety is a concept called temporal distancing. When we think about us in the future, maybe think about yourself 4 years from now at the next election. And when you think from that future self perspective, think about what he or she would say to you right now. And what kind of action steps would they encourage you to take? What kind of self-care would that future self want you to engage in? How would they want you to maybe be a role model for family members or friends or in your community? So many people are experiencing election anxiety where they're gripped by maybe tension, difficulty sleeping, feeling on edge, racing thoughts. So it's really important to shift our state by practicing some brief relaxation. My personal favorite practice is a 2-step, 1-breath practice, where you're just taking 2 steps. You're putting maybe your left foot on the ground and then your right foot on the ground and feeling the connection with the earth. And then just taking 1 deep breath, doing slower, lower breathing, really engaging the belly and doing diaphragmatic breathing. That kind of practice can really ground you in the present. It's an act of mindfulness to just be here now. And you can do that practice throughout the day when you're walking, for example, or even when you're seated, or even during times of transition when you're maybe walking into your house or you're arriving at work or you're going to pick up your kids.
Just a great refresher. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.